Hello, everybody. Welcome to this free episode of TF. And an important record has been broken today. An important record has been broken today.
Number of shots missed in Donald Trump's direction.
Kennedy, Lincoln, Ford, Reagan, Roosevelt, one attempt each. Just one. Trump has fucking doubled them.
Yeah. I mean, listen, obviously the state of the game has changed, you know, advances in nutrition, stuff like that, training, you know, it's not the same game that it was. You put Lee Harvey Oswald in today's game, you know, I know how much people like him, but like it wouldn't be the same, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and the fact also that like he was the new guy suspected to be Ryan Routh. He was drafted from NAFA. He didn't even come from like the actual theater schools at the CIA.
No, I know. Listen, I guess the lesson here is always believe in yourself. And just if you have that determination, if you have that focus, you too can fuck up and get arrested or killed by the Secret Service.
I mean, it would be funny. It would be NAFO's first confirmed kill if he'd gotten it.
But it's also this further proof of like everyone having ADD now, where it's like, I feel like back in the day before phones, like, you know, someone would have landed a hit, like a proper one, right? The sort of missing of it, yeah, I feel there's something to do with the phones.
But you think that they're all too busy, like they could only concentrate on an assassination attempt if they're also playing Subway Surfer?
Well, I mean, this guy being a NAFO guy, this is one of the like most posting Americans, and therefore, you know, most likely to get distracted by something he sees on his phone.
Before we go any further, I want to introduce our guest who might be wondering if he has to run his appearance on this podcast by Bloomberg again. It is Zeke Faux, returning champion, one of the crypto gurus, but like our kind of crypto guru that we've spoken to before and we will again. Zeke's just written a couple of great articles in Bloomberg about kind of the greater cryptosphere coalescing not just implicitly as it has for a long time, but now very explicitly alongside Trump world. So Zeke, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
It's our pleasure.
Also, just so you know, UK listeners, there's a lot of UK news that's been happening from Keir Starmer, from some Labour donor playing a Newgrounds dress-up Keir Starmer game.
God damn it, dude. We'll get there. We will talk about Keir Starmer again.
Yes.
We'll talk about this awful country.
Yes. We're going to talk about Keir Starmer again. We're also going to talk about the sort of implosion of the Jewish Chronicle, the magazine. We're going to be talking about all that. We're going to be talking about it on this week's bonus episode alongside some Eric Adams stuff. So
yeah, if you want to hear some like British opinions, you're going to have to pay is the thing.
So that's all coming. But I figure it might be worth sort of bringing this one little bit of Britishness up while we have Zeke on as a certified financial journalist, which is that, yes, the like Lord Ali donating a bunch of like designer clothes to Keir Starmer and his wife so they can, quote, look their best for the nation, which is a really funny reason. What's more interesting, and this was pointed out to me by Ethan Schoen, who's been on this show and who I think is like, if you're interested in the Kremlinology of like what's making this current government tick, I think he's probably...
Downingsology.
Yeah, I think he's kind of got the best read on it in general. So Ethan noted, he was like, you know, one of the things that really matters is donations like those from Quadrature Capital, which donated like...
Oh, that sounds more evil than anything you could possibly dress Keir Starmer in, like short of like KKK uniform. You give me something that sounds sort of like a word or sort of like a place, and I'm like, that is some asset stripping investment fund name right there. Quadrature
Capital.
Not a word. What's the quadrature of this shape? Not a thing. Deranged.
Yeah, I think it's like, if you wanted to name a hedge fund, quadrature it's a word, but it's a very, very, very like specific, like high level geometry word. It does.
Okay.
But I think if you wanted to name a hedge fund, you could do worse than going into ChatGPT and be like, come up with something that for me sounds a bit like a word. But here's what I think is interesting. And this is where I think the financial journalism elements of this are interesting, which is that they have the largest climate foundation that's focused on geoengineering in the financial sector. And Labour is now announcing that they intend to spend huge amounts of money as part of PFI2. So you wonder things like, okay, well, is the Quadrature Climate Foundation, that's led by someone, by the way, with a hilarious name.
Oh, yeah? I'm bracing myself.
Greg de Temmerman.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see if they become, for example, a co-investor with the UK government in a bunch of like green energy plans next year.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no way that Starmer's Labour Party would do a bunch of like private finance initiatives with Greg de Temmerman merely because he, you know, bought Keir Starmer a bunch of suits or whatever.
But look, I want to get to talking to Zeke about crypto. I don't want to spend too much time talking about UK stuff. We're going to do more of that on Thursday. Zeke, let's talk a little bit about how the crypto world changed since we last spoke about it. And since we last spoke about it was the trial and conviction of Sam Bankman-Fried. It looks to me like it's become much more party political, at least in the US. Can you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Price-wise, crypto is totally back. Like Bitcoin is up at, $60,000, something like that. And the price of all the other coins are up too. But you don't hear anybody talking about like Web3, blockchain. There's like not really any excitement. And crypto always needs a narrative. And the narrative right now is that Trump is going to pass friendly regulations. He's even said he's going to start a national Bitcoin stockpile. And that's going to be like the catalyst that sets off the next bull run or whatever. But it's pretty wild. These crypto companies, whether or not they're doing anything profitable, they're sitting on huge amounts of money. So they've got plenty to throw around in this US election.
One of the things I've seen that's really funny is, I guess this was from Standard Chartered. They put out a research note saying that if Trump wins, crypto rips to 125K for Bitcoin. Bitcoin, rips to 125K. However, it will only rip to 75K on a Kamala win.
This is, there's no such thing as bad news. It's all good.
Yeah, it's Bitcoin. The price can only go up, apparently. What I think is interesting, right, as well, is that one of the things that these people are doing is, and with the lack of a narrative about adoption or usability, there's not really a vision. You can see this in Trump's speech to the Bitcoin conference in Nashville. You can also see it in how like people in the sector are talking about crypto. There's, as you say, Zeke, the whole idea of Web3 is gone. The NFTs gone. All we have left is Bitcoin as digital gold and then memes, basically.
Yeah. Like, if you're not paying attention, they're great at creating this narrative that, like, mainstream adoption is right around the corner. There's, like, really cool stuff happening that, like, maybe you just haven't heard of. But the truth of what's going on is, like, if you remember Dogecoin, they started one called Dog with Hat. It's, like, now the dog has a hat on it. And that's, like, a blue chip crypto. Like, most of them are dumber than that. Dumber or offensive. Like, you cannot overestimate how dumb the crypto has gotten. And I was just looking at one called Make America Great Again. Just like people are trying to like glom onto anything that can get attention. Iggy Azalea has a coin, which is actually doing pretty well as far as celebrity coins go.
Is it just like
still
Iggy
in
coin?
the crypto business?
Does it have a purported use case?
It's called Mother. I do not. I'm honestly, I'm already feeling guilty that we're talking about it. Like this is just gonna like pump Mother right now. I think she's out in Singapore.
Do not pump Mother. Please do not pump Mother.
If you buy enough of the Iggy Azalea coin, the special gift you get is like the most unique Australian accent you can imagine.
One of the things that's interesting about this, right, as well, and you could see this at the Bitcoin Nashville conference, which is like another, I think, sort of sea change moment in the crypto space, is that everyone who's a crypto millionaire, with some exceptions, is pretty much deciding that the Republicans generally, and Trump specifically, are the way to go, who they're completely aligned on.
Yeah, those are their guys.
And we always knew, right? We always knew that crypto was like, a lot of it is the same kind of right-wing tax protest stuff that's been happening for ages and ages and ages. It's that gold bug and the Fed, like John Bircherism, that again, it's been happening for ages and ages. But for a long time, it could maintain a kind of veneer of neutrality. Like, oh, it's just a fancy new thing. We're not sort of party political in any way. And, you know, again, now that the era of trying to sell crypto as a thing that normal people will use to do normal things, but with more freedom, is sort of over. I think that that veneer is gone. I mean, that hasn't stopped like some people on the Democratic side from trying to like farm crypto donations. Jonathan Padilla launched a group called Crypto for Harris. His company is called Snickerdoodle Labs.
That's the second most alarming thing for a company to be named. Like, after something that's either like very esoterically mathematical or just flat out not a word, is the kind of like whimsy corporate. You know?
All of it's got this sort of guy stroking the cat, you know, but like the Democratic crypto lobbyists are basically like, yeah, we're basically fucked. No one wants to give any money to us. Crypto for Harris is trying to like support, you know, Kamala Harris. But again, the guy who's behind it, again, his company is, as far as I can tell, Snickerdoodle Labs, a kind of like affiliate marketing Web3 startup. It's one of the most bullshit things I've ever seen. It says it's using blockchain technology to build a data economy that distributes value to all stakeholders, including data owners, building the infrastructure to allow people to own their data and monetize it in a secure way, which is just, to me, that just sounds like affiliate marketing, but I don't know.
It's crazy to me when you hear people in Washington talk about crypto, they're talking about it like ways like they still believe in the blockchain and that there's going to be some mainstream use case. Meanwhile, the actual crypto people, like you're saying, have totally moved on. But in DC, they're debating crypto like, oh, this could be, you know, this American innovation. We don't want to drive it offshore. It's pretty bizarre to me.
Yeah. Don't they understand that the whole point of it is that it's difficult to contain within a national locality?
Yeah, but what if it wasn't though?
The SEC has filed these lawsuits against Coinbase and a bunch of the other big exchanges. And that's really like what's at the center of this. Those lawsuits would more or less say that doing crypto the way people do it in the US is illegal. Like you can't go trade random coins. These are all securities. They have to be regulated like stocks. And the crypto industry is basically hoping that through lobbying, they can get those rules changed, get Gary Gensler fired, the head of the SEC, and Trump has promised he'll do it if he's elected. I mean, although of course he would. You fire all the agency heads.
And so, like, basically, it's one of the reasons I suspect it's very difficult for the Democrats to get support from the crypto industry, because they're basically saying, hey, we're going to make it more or less impossible to do what you're doing. Or will they?
Your very stupid game is over, possibly.
Yeah, I guess that's the question, right? Will they actually continue doing that?
Will they kill Mother?
Yes, will the Democrats kill Mother, Zeke?
I mean, I think they're out to get her. It's a matter of time. And I have not seen Azalea weigh in on the election, but if she knows what's good for Mother, she knows what to do.
Maybe she needs to get like specific exceptions carved out for Mother if the Democrats win.
Oh, I mean, there's a way that if your coin is stupid enough, it is legal. Like if you don't make any promises, you never say that it's going to do anything. That's like a way that you can maybe get away with it. But if you start to say that like this is sort of like a company, you're going to do things that make money, that's where you get into trouble with the SEC. They're going to say it's a security. So maybe Mother could fall into that like stupidity exemption.
It's really funny that the SEC considers Mother potentially to be beneath them on the basis that it doesn't stand for the like stupid bullshit and exchange commission.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Also, ever since you've mentioned Mother, I've had an image in my head of Trump shuffling through the halls towards the Oval Office doing When You're Good to Mama from Chicago.
One North Carolina Democrat who is trying to connect the Harris campaign with crypto industry players says anyone who cares about the future of crypto should want this issue to stay in the bipartisan lane, said Representative Wiley Nickel. That wily old nickel.
That's actually a pretty decent name for a coin, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true. Wily nickel. It's a stable coin that's pegged to the nickel.
Yeah, Wiley Nickel at the commemorative coin dispute.
Yeah, so anything less would poison the well for a decade. So I suspect, if I think about this, what's going on here is the crypto people aligned with Crypto for Harris are like, look, the Democrats have been pretty unfriendly to, you know, all the stuff we're having fun and playing games with here. We need to try and get them on side. Whereas the others are like, no, we have to go all in for Trump because Trump is going to bring us to utopia, basically. You know, that seems to be what it is. But you recently also wrote about the crypto conference in Nashville that Trump headlined. And this is one that we talked about his speech a while back, but we didn't talk about the conference that much. And it seemed as though, like, many pundits were looking at this and were like, okay, well, he's looking for crypto voters as a kind of block, which Coinbase Global, which definitely has no incentive at all to inflate this number, said, yeah, we think that the crypto voter represents 20% of the U.S. electorate. Like 20% of the U.S. electorate are like, I hate Gary Gensler. That fucker.
The Fed has a study Coinbase study rests on the assumption that anyone who's ever traded crypto is a potential crypto voter. Now, the Fed has a study that says only 7%, I believe, of people have traded crypto in the US. But I think this assumption is flawed. Like, what percentage? Half the people who traded crypto have lost money. They may be pro crypto regulation. And like, more people just don't care. The percentage of people that really care about crypto, I think, is quite small. And at this conference, I was with those people, like people who are obsessed obsessed with Bitcoin who, you know, were willing to like put their lives on hold to go talk about Bitcoin with a bunch of other Bitcoin people. And even in this crowd, I had trouble finding anyone who said Trump's flip-flop, because he'd called Bitcoin a scam before, was changing their vote. A lot of these people were like, I like RFK before, and I still like RFK. So they'd probably come around to Trump now.
I love Trump's sort of unerring ability to identify a scam just because he himself is a practiced scammer. You know, it's like anytime he goes to the evangelicals and like waves a Bible around and goes like, you guys love this shit, right? In the same breath, you know, to go to crypto people and be like, oh, the guy you want fired, yeah, he's gone totally. You know, I'm gonna revalue all of your like Iraqi dinar coin. It's getting revalued day one.
Yeah. Do you want me to make Mother the new dollar? I'll make Mother the new dollar.
I was pretty amazed by what the Bitcoiners pulled off, because I thought when I heard rumblings about this, I thought, all right, maybe Trump sends a video of himself like waving like, hey, Bitcoiners. I mean, he actually came and he said he was going to have the US government have a stockpile of Bitcoins. I mean, that was far beyond what I expected. Like fire Gary Gensler is kind of like an easy ask. He's saying he'll pardon Ross Ulbright, which is a big favorite of issue of Bitcoiners, because I think that Silk Road was key to like the early adoption of Bitcoin, and they think Albright has been punished too much for running this online drug market. So, I mean, and if you remember, he also kind of tried to maybe order a couple assassinations, although they, maybe he was talking to an undercover agent. But like Trump really took their side on all of their pet issues. Though at the end of his speech, he did say with a little ad lib, have a good time with your Bitcoin and your crypto and everything else that you're playing with, which like people these people,
he's so fucking funny.
Yeah, he was pretty good talking to this crowd. And I mean, he had compliments for everyone. He's like, Winklevoss twins, like they're so sexy and smart.
Male models with a big, beautiful brain.
Yes, that's what it was. But he's like, all of you in the crowd are geniuses, just like my uncle who taught at MIT.
They say he graduated the best in history, right? He was like
some really deep Trump lore there, apart from anything else.
Yeah, couldn't he say that my uncle, you'd all love him. He's a smart guy as well. He graduated the best from MIT ever.
Graduated tremendously. I loved that.
He was one of the most ever at MIT.
I mean, just a couple of years ago, the Bitcoiners were going crazy because they got this videotaped address from Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, saying that he would adopt Bitcoin. Now this is a big upgrade. You've got like the potential next president of the United States signing on. I really thought they'd be more excited. Like the crowd should be going wild. And instead they're like, the national Bitcoin stockpile should be bigger. He's not buying enough Bitcoin.
That's how you organize as a constituency, is you demand the impossible, you know, and you keep pressuring. They're moving Trump right on Bitcoin.
Well, are they doing like purity tests just to be like, oh, does he? Well, I mean, I'm not even sort of joking, because I do feel at this stage it's like, well, I think as you sort of mentioned, Matt, like now that we've sort of gone past the phase of people pretending that this had any kind of like real sort of utility, and like the sort of crypto boosters are not really sort of kind of making the case that this is like an alternative currency for the everyday person. At this stage, then it's like, well, yeah, how you differentiate who's on your side and who isn't is like, who is a true believer? And the thing about all of that basically cult stuff is that, you know, the goalposts constantly change. And I guess I don't know whether they've seen Bukele as someone who actually has sort of like engaged more with the actual process of Bitcoin than Trump has, or seemingly is willing to do. So I wonder whether like this is type of a purity test measure of which Trump is failing very not tremendously.
For these Bitcoiners, I mean, these guys, they actually don't like other cryptocurrencies. Like, you're not allowed to talk about Ethereum on stage at the Bitcoin conference. So even that Trump was using the word crypto is like a failure of their purity test.
Yeah.
And then what Trump has done since then, no Bitcoiner is going to like.
So is everyone becoming like a Bitcoin maximalist, or like is the constituency all like Bitcoin maximalists who just like kind of are just distrustworthy of everything and think that anyone who's like trading Dogecoin is actually like undermining the project?
Yeah, like that. Those are the guys at this conference, and that group, they got together and were able to raise what they said was $25 million for Trump. So I think it was the Bitcoin maximalists that really got Trump to come on board. But Trump's always been like a kind of suspect Bitcoin maximalist, because he already sold his Trump card NFT collection, which are like these $99 trading cards with pictures of Trump looking like real jacked as like an astronaut or a hunter or something. So he's like his commitment to the maximalist cause is is questionable.
Yeah.
And now he's definitely strayed from that because he's introduced a new cryptocurrency company that he's promoting called World Liberty Financial, which the maxis have to be mad about.
Yeah, World Liberty Financial is really interesting to me because ever since JD Vance was picked as vice president, it's like you've seen the fingerprints of his sons on his campaign.
Yeah, it's a little bit, you know what it reminds me of is the sort of early career of Mohammed bin Salman when his dad was still sentient and was therefore capable of getting pitched whatever dumb bullshit his kid could come up with. Like, hey, we should assassinate the current king with this poison ring I got from the FSB or whatever. But instead it's Trump's kid. So it's like, what about Bitcoin,
Yeah, or more specifically, it's weirdly, and this is why I think Bitcoin maxis might have they need Trump in because he's like, okay, well, look, we seized all this money from Razzle Khan. We're just gonna, and that's most of our Bitcoin reserve is money we seized from one terrible rapper. We're going to just keep buying more Bitcoin.
Yeah, in the same way that after Nicolas Cage got done for taxes, the federal government had a Lamborghini stockpile,
Yeah, that they were like, okay, well, I guess we can just buy more Bitcoin, but he's at the same time promoting a company that's going to have its token on the AAVE network. This is World Liberty Financial has Barron Trump as the chief DeFi visionary with
what the fuck? What?
Yeah, it's got his son.
What the fuck is Barron going to be? Isn't he going to NYU at the moment? Well,
look, everyone can have a job while they're at university.
Okay, sure,
his
yeah,
job
but
is as a visionary.
that's a lot of visionary to be doing in amongst first year of college, I think.
There have been these rumors that Barron was into crypto. Martin Shkreli, the pharma bro, he had said that he was talking to Barron about doing a meme coin. And that's looking a little bit more credible to me now that Barron has come out as a potential chief visionary.
I mean, some people would probably have another name for that type of interaction that begins with a G.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about the conference before, though, we talk about World Liberty Financial. When you say getting Trump at the conference was a big victory for the Bitcoiners, most of the person who was behind this was this guy, David Bailey, whose goal essentially was to get the U.S. government buying Bitcoin like big companies do stock buybacks to basically keep the price high. I mean, one of the things that we've seen in this show over and over again is that the brass ring for anyone who has a kind of huckster thing to promote, whether it's Greensill or whether it's this or anything else, is to get your thing hooked up to the government money machine, right? And so if you can get the federal government buying Bitcoin, you're basically getting the federal government giving you money for Bitcoin. And how he seemed to do this was he said, if we want China, it was basically to try and start a Bitcoin bidding war between the U.S. and China by playing on Trump's economic nationalism. Can you speak a little more about this David Bailey character?
Yeah, so he's 34 years old. He's the publisher of Bitcoin Magazine, which is basically what it sounds like. And he's not a huge player in the industry other than putting on this conference every year. But he seemed to really seize this moment and rally the Bitcoiners around Trump. And he told the story on a podcast a little before the conference. And what he said was that basically you would be surprised how much you can do if you have 10 people who are willing to donate the maximum, which is a combined $845,000 to Trump and these campaign committees. And he's like, there's a lot of money, but kind of nothing also. And that can have a lot of sway over a candidate's positions. Now, and he wouldn't say I'm doing this to pump Bitcoin. These Bitcoiners would say, hey, Bitcoin is going to save America. It's going to protect the US dollar and end inflation. And, side benefit, we all become billionaires and are the new kings of the world. But they talk a lot more about the first part. And like you were saying, it was funny because China has banned crypto. There's some debate over how effective that ban is, but they've shown no signs of wanting to win crypto. And what Bailey said was, we got to tell Trump, we need to stop China from getting all the Bitcoins. And that's going to get him excited about this. And then in his speech, Trump did say stuff like that. So it seemed like these Bitcoiner talking points definitely made their way to Trump. And I mean, Bailey said something that stuck with me, too. He was like, as our religion spreads, our financial resources expand equally. How do you beat that? And
I mean, no one's done that since Mormonism. But it's true. Right?
In many ways, Mormonism also one of these like edge cases on like sort of policy of the day, right?
Yeah, I mean, we got to get Bitcoiners just doing entryism into the CIA next. So it says,
give it a minute. You know?
It's what David Bailey said was, if we want to get China to YOLO into Bitcoin, all we have to do is get a certain person to say that we're going to stop them from YOLOing into Bitcoin. So I like also the idea. It's like, oh yes, all of the trillions of renminbi that we have, we're investing it all in Bitcoin. We're going all in. US, China, everyone. No more other currencies. But the conference environment that you talk about also was kind of mad. I'm going to read from your article. Earnest hobbyists peddled Bitcoin children's books and Bitcoin quilts and Bitcoin art featuring orange bees and burned, pulped, or shredded government currency.
A Bitcoin quilt is great because you could do an almost literal rug pull with it.
A model, thank you very much, November, that was great. A model in a bikini sprayed herself with water heated by Bitcoin mining computers.
Ugh. Why is she like being sprayed with like sort of warm water just that's like being wasted from this like data center?
They had a plan, which was that you would run your own Bitcoin mining computers inside your home hot water heater and then save money on your home hot water through Bitcoin mining. And they were trying to show it could generate enough hot water to keep this model kind of warm. Although she kept grabbing her towel, so like questionable if it was generating a lot of heat.
Was it a Bitcoin towel?
This just seems really like alienating and sad.
You spotted Haley Welch of Hawktua viral fame, also just wandering around. That's the thing. It has struck, like, the conference environment itself just struck me as a kind of conference of like just people who are grasping for attention for their thing, right? One woman says, the vibe was less tech hackathon and more multi-level marketing convention designed to fire up the sales force before they returned home to pitch friends. A woman from Jersey City who was dressed up in orange scrubs embroidered with, quote, Bitcoin orthodontist on them said, we orange pilled our entire office. So tell me, I don't want to go to the Bitcoin orthodontist before I like go under. I don't want them to be like, oh yeah, by the way, this thing we're using to clean your teeth, it's powered by a Bitcoin mining rig. Okay, goodbye. See you on the other side.
Yeah, you may notice that this water is kind of warm.
I mean, can you imagine like the poor, receptionist who has to, in addition to like working at their job, now has to also pretend like they love Bitcoin? Be like, oh yes, please, like pay me in Bitcoin. Like, yes, that's exactly what I want. I'm gonna now, I want my salary to bump up and down by like 10% a week.
Grim.
Trump also, as you say, called for the government to invest in Bitcoin. And like I said, this is his main offer. That and like undoing regulation that's come in since 2020. This is his other main offer. He says, for too long, our government has violated the cardinal rule that every Bitcoiner knows by heart. Never sell your Bitcoin. Saying that the current U.S. supply of Bitcoin, which is all confiscated by law enforcement, 1% of the total supply of Bitcoin in the world, which is fucking mental to me. 1% of the total supply of Bitcoin in the world is held by the U.S. government as the proceeds of crime. He said that he would always order the government to hold them or hodl them forever. This will serve, in effect, as the core of our strategic national Bitcoin stockpile. I also like how, because like he's Trump and he can never learn one new thing without understanding it in the context of things he knows already. He went on Fox Business to then say, who knows, maybe we'll pay off our $35 trillion, hand him a little crypto check, we'll hand him a little Bitcoin and wipe out our national debt of $35 trillion.
I think they should just do this for like everything the US government sees as proceeds of crime. I think they should have like a national Glock stockpile or Glock pile, national like cocaine stockpile, you name it. You know, I want a fun federal warehouse full of all of the stuff that they've taken off of criminals. I call it crime economy.
Yeah, just the National Crime Museum. And it's just like how if you get a state gift, ideal. You can't really keep it for yourself. You have to like hang it up in Downing Street or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
This was a souped up Audi TT from 2004. We have 90,000 of them.
I don't know how seriously we should take this plan, but like if you really get into it, there's some issues. Like these Bitcoins were stolen by Razzle Khan's boyfriend from Bitfinex. Like those are Bitfinex's Bitcoins. I don't think you can just take them and stick them in the stockpile without some sort of legal fight.
It's a real shame that like every Bitcoin is extremely attributable back to that, you know?
Yeah.
I was thrilled to see Razzle Khan at the conference. It was my first time meeting her. It was I don't know if she was there to like lobby Trump about his plan for taking her Bitcoins, but I think she was maybe looking for a job in crypto. That was what I heard.
Isn't it that someone tried to induce her to do a rap battle with Lil Pump?
Yeah. So I was at this party for something called Taproot Wizards. Basically, they put NFTs on Bitcoin now. It's called ordinals. It's the same idea, but now it's on Bitcoin so we can pump it again. And Taproot Wizards are kind of scribbles of wizards. And they got Lil Pump, who has his own meme coin, to come to the party. And I felt like this was I don't know much about Lil Pump, but he seems famous. So it seemed pretty insulting that one of the wizards was trying to get Lil Pump to battle Razzlecon right there at the party, but Lil Pump would not do it.
Lil Pump knew that she might trick him into rapping his wallet seed phrase. And then, so let's go on to World Liberty Financial, though, and because this is not just a company, it's also the story of a guy, and we love guys here on this show.
I love when things are the story of a guy in particular.
So broadly speaking, right, it's the Trump side of it. Weirdly, is like the least interesting bit because this is just a very standard DeFi platform. The whole idea is, you're going to be able to like lend this coin. You're going to have yield farming. And then they just added some of the Trump flavor to it, which is like, banks are crooked. They're not giving you good interest rates. They shut people out, deny them loans, drown them in paperwork, and kill them with processing fees, said Trump Jr. And it's like, yes, that is true, right? It's true that they do that. But the solution isn't like, Trump coin or whatever. They say these banks and the elites who run them want absolute control, but that ends now. So we have seen that kind of company so many times on this show. A DeFi stablecoin, basically. We saw it again and again and again, that it doesn't bear mentioning the mechanics of how the company works generally. However, what does bear talking about is the guy who came up with the idea for World Liberty Financial, kind of sold it to Donald Jr. and Eric, who then somehow got their dad, who hates them, to buy into it. What can you tell me, Zeke, about Chase Haro?
I think it's Hero, actually. Chase Hero, he is kind of a well-known figure in the world of affiliate marketing, which I investigated like years ago. So I knew the name, and I was shocked to see him turn up as involved in this Trump project. His resume is, impressive to me. He started out selling weed. He went to prison for that. And when he got out, he was in affiliate marketing. The only thing I could find that he was selling, it's hard to find evidence about people's affiliate marketing deals, but it was a weight loss colon cleanse. And then more recently, after affiliate marketing got kind of, that business got pretty tough, he started selling a $149 a month get rich quick class. And through the son of a real estate developer friend of Trump's, he was able to pitch his new crypto thing to them. And at World Liberty
Sons! I told you, it's sons. It's all about the sons.
So yeah, I guess like I've seen this a lot. You got some like billionaire, and then the son is a crypto guy. I think, isn't Steve Cohen's son a crypto guy, the hedge fund manager? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they're all crypto guys.
But Hero and his longtime business partner, Zach Folkman, who himself is a former pickup artist, like from the book The Game. He's not in the game, but that same idea, like teaching these like...
He was like a bit player in the game.
Yes, teaching like charisma classes. These two guys, they did have like a DeFi thing called Doe Finance. And, if you don't know much about crypto, like let's say you're like a older billionaire type, these people can say a lot of stuff about like DeFi, and it might sound kind of impressive, but Doe Finance, it's so small that a lot of the like data trackers don't have any info on it. As best I can tell, according to DeFi Llama, which is like actually a reputable source, it only ever attracted like $3 or $4 million. Then it got hacked for $2 million. Now they did offer to repay users in the Doe token, which is worthless. So I don't know how that works.
It's basically saying, look, you all your real money was stolen from us, but we've written money on this piece of paper and we're willing to pay you back with it.
If you don't know about crypto, like it sounds pretty cool, but talking to crypto guys, they're like, this is just like a copycat project. It doesn't take any like real skill to launch one of these. There's tons of them and they nearly never work out. So like I talked to a bunch of crypto investors for this story, like people who run crypto funds. And look, like in the crypto world, like their standards for what's legit are very low. It's not like you need to be like curing cancer here. Like that, like, you put a hat on the Dogecoin dog and like now we're talking. But they're like this.
Let's get some Groucho glasses on there and really make some money.
Yeah. But
yeah, this is like not mother standard here,
Right. And a lot of these guys are like, we like Trump. We want him to win. And we wish he was not doing this. And Tarun Chitra, who's like a crypto venture capitalist, one of the smarter guys that I've met in the industry, he told me fly by night, trying to make a quick buck kind of thing really doesn't seem earnest. And that was like pretty much the consensus. But, you know, Trump's pushing on.
Let's talk a little bit more, though, of course, about Hero, because he's a fascinating character. Also, I note that you note this in your article that the crypto project he did that suffered a devastating hack, he went on Logan Paul's podcast. Again, another friend of the Trump sons and introduced to Trump.
Really, really difficult interview, I'm sure. Like really searching questions.
Yeah. And then the token, wouldn't you know it, dropped 96% afterward.
He was promoting one on Logan Paul's podcast, a different one called Omi, which I had never heard of. And there's a scam investigating YouTuber called CoffeeZilla who actually has a feud with Logan Paul and posted a video about this. He somehow got a leaked. So on the podcast, Chase Hero and Logan Paul, Chase Hero was like, have you heard about this coin called Omi? And Logan Paul's like, no way, Omi? You like Omi too? Oh my God. But CoffeeZilla had found this video of them, I don't know how he got it, before the podcast, talking with somebody and like planning this all out. At least that's how it seemed. So it seemed like a pretty fishy promotion. You mentioned like Logan Paul. I mean, he's had Trump on his podcast too. Like so far, there's no word that Paul's involved in World Liberty, but like I really wouldn't be surprised given his connections to all the people involved.
Well, essentially, I think what we're talking about is a sort of a different kind of Trump world than we would have seen last time, right? It's a different kind of Trump world that is much more online and much younger as well.
Much more prone to shoot at him as well. So it's either like one of two camps here. It's crypto or stalking towards the golf course with an AR.
Essentially. So it seems right. Like it's especially looking at like the World Liberty Financial or all of the sneakers or products that he's making. It seems like the campaign is like half marketing campaign for the smallest time bullshit you've ever heard. Like he's one step above Sarah Palin selling tummy tea on Instagram Reels.
To me, it's really weird because Trump actually is pretty rich. Like this guy's a billionaire. And like how much does he stand to make off promoting World Liberty Financial? Like you would really think that he's got an election coming up. Like it's a big deal. Like how is this worth his time? It's bizarre to me. And even if you're being really cynical, he has a stock called Trump Media and Technology Group. And right now, that company is worth like billions of dollars on paper. And the lockup period is about to expire, which will allow Trump to sell his stock. He says he's not going to, but like his credibility and the value of that stock is so much more important to his wealth. Like even if you say, all right, whatever about the election, his wealth depends much more on that stock than whatever this World Liberty thing is going to be. So it seems like mystifying that he would just start this other venture with these strange business partners.
It's another venture with strange business partners who, like, again, are, instead of sort of saying the next thing, I'll just read another of your paragraphs on Chase Hero. In a lawsuit filed in 2014, he'd marketed a colon cleanser called Regular RX on Facebook and wasn't paid for the sales he generated. Carl Ruderman, the owner of Regular RX, didn't immediately respond to the letter sent to him at a federal prison in Miami, where he's serving a 5-year sentence for an unrelated Ponzi scheme.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What a great ecosystem.
Yeah, right? Like, I mean, we always know that these are the people who he gets in bed with because these are the people who he always gets in bed with. But usually he doesn't get in bed with other people who are like running Ponzi schemes or dodgy coins or whatever.
Colon cleansers.
Yeah.
Literally full of shit.
Yeah. It's like the Trump playbook is to get in bed with people who are going to perform actual useful work for him that he can then not pay.
Yeah, that you can cheat. Exactly. Yeah.
This seems like a relatively different thing for him. What I also think is interesting about Hero is that he said, this is again from your article, that, you know, he left online advertising for crypto because online advertising became too difficult, right? It became too saturated with people who had too many like automated ways of doing it. It was too difficult with like, you know, generative AI or whatever. So he's like, fuck it, we're going to pivot to crypto. And then you say he ran a membership group called The Watchers that claimed to teach people the secrets of crypto trading and making money online, where he also appeared with Jordan Belfort on stage, right? Again, like this is someone who is himself we'll choose our words carefully, a wheeler dealer. This is not the kind of like Trump usually, as I said, associates with like either the mob or people he can scam. This just seems new to me.
What makes it make a little more sense is if you actually look at that stock, like that's the owner of Truth Social, his like proprietary social network, which has that whole company has a revenue of one like McDonald's. Something like that. And it's worth billions on paper. And he was pitched that idea by like some ex-contestants from The Apprentice. And even though like Truth Social didn't take off, it now accounts for more of his money than like buildings, I think. Now it's hard to like sell that stock and monetize it, but that might make him think, hey, I don't know, this crypto thing, maybe it could take off.
Yeah.
And I interviewed for the story Michael Cohen, his old lawyer who testified against him. And he, reminded me, this is a guy who like will take money to put his name on things. Like his number one concern is, am I going to get money up front? Is there risk to me? You've got like Trump Steaks, Trump Vodka, Trump University. None of these things made him huge amounts of money or came from like super credible partners. So it is kind of his MO, though to me, it seems like he's really sticking his neck out with this crypto thing.
Oh, perhaps he doesn't understand the extent to which he is sticking his neck out. That's sort of what or perhaps, he understands, right? Okay, well, Truth Social is, it's a huge number on paper, but the market for it is, it's about as thin as a puddle. Like, it's not like you can actually sell any of it. The moment you sell it, presumably its value crashes. And so unless he can like get the government to have and maybe this would be a good idea for him. So Trump, if you're listening,
as we assume
the U.S.
are.
government has to have a national Truth Social stockpile just in case China tries to buy it.
I mean, so long as that's part of an official duty, it's not illegal for him to do that.
Yeah,
now.
that's right.
It's like so basic, but this is why it's like a conflict of interest. Like Trump is talking about how should crypto be regulated, and now he's promoting world liberty and like the very legality. We don't know the details of like what world liberty is going to do exactly, but it's pretty clear that like the legality of this crypto project will be decided by, what policies the SEC pursues, what new laws Congress passes. Like, this is why it's a conflict of interest for a potential president to have a private company.
I guess we're sort of asking, like, why is he doing it, given that it does seem to have some risk attached for him, is that he's saying, okay, well, if I win, I can do this. I also know that even if it is, like, technically a conflict of interest, no one cares and no one's going to say anything. And even if they do, I could just be like, okay, well, I'm just going to ignore you. And then by, like, introducing crypto-friendly legislation, I will become incredibly rich. If anything, the possibility is that he has bought the hype of the crypto maxis who are around him, suggesting if only you're in government, this thing could create a gigantic amount of value for whoever owns it.
Right. I mean, I think before he gave that speech at the Bitcoin conference, he had like a private meeting with some top people. And he met with, actually, I don't know if he was there, but quite possibly Michael Saylor was there, the MicroStrategy guy who has invested all his company's money into Bitcoin, and it's made him like billions of dollars. And Michael Saylor has predicted that putting those standard, like those rookie numbers, those Standard Chartered predictions you were talking about before, he says Bitcoin is going to $13 million a coin. So like if you buy into that, like you better get yourself some Bitcoins now.
Yeah, or if getting a Bitcoin is sort of too expensive and you're the guy who's like, well, I guess I'll start Trump Steaks and Trump Neckties and Trump University. Just like, okay, well, what's the cheaper version of that? What's the cheaper and easier version of that? I know. I'll get together with this like weight loss colon cleanse guy who used to sell weed, and then we'll make up our own money, and then I'll just make a law that it's worth a huge amount of cash.
I should note that, so I got like a white paper for this World Liberty project. That's how I have some of the details. And it says that this isn't Trump's project. He doesn't own it, manage it, or operate it, but the Trumps may receive some kind of compensation. But it's clear that like without Trump's endorsement, nobody would be talking about this. Like he's offering something of great value to these World Liberty guys. And, I'm curious to see what's in it for him. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's something that we'll see, I suppose. Like that's one of the things about reading about crypto and talking about crypto and trying to make sense of crypto. There's so much, because it's so opaque, it's so weird. So many things have to end with, well, I guess we'll see, right? Because and so many things that you say, okay, well, I guess we'll see. There's almost no way to know what he was planning, because if he doesn't get elected or this doesn't go big, then everyone involved is going to forget about it because it's got zero setup cost. Really, all of this is some people making agreements and putting out press releases and then hoping that people just dump money into their gambling infrastructure, essentially. Right? That's the whole crypto market is like that. The only reason we talk about it is that it largely worked for that or it goes through cycles of working for that function for a while. Like when we talk about the decentralized finance, when we talk about like, the crypto ecosystem, I always say say, right? Like, you have to understand that Bitcoin is Florida real estate and everything else around it is the financial services sector before 2006. Is that the whole thing just exists to move money around, to make the value of this one thing very large. And you know, on a macro level or on a micro level, it just keeps repeating that again and again. And because it's got so minimal costs involved in doing this, then it's so hard to tell what happens when one goes wrong unless it fails in a spectacular and expensive way.
Chase Hero himself kind of expressed a similar cynical attitude, but put in a different way. He was talking in 2018 in a speech I watched on YouTube. He's recording as he drives in his Rolls Royce, and he says, in crypto, you can literally sell shit in a can, wrapped in piss, covered in human skin for $1 billion if the story's right, because people will buy it.
He was on that earnings call with the VC guy we talked about.
And I mean, that ultimately, I guess that's what attracts that particular political tendency to crypto, because it's the huckster mindset political tendency. However, I'm sorry we have to cut short a little bit early today, but Zeke, I wanted to thank you very much for coming back on the podcast. It's always a delight to talk to you.
Thanks a lot, you guys. And check out the updated version of Number Go Up with a new chapter, which is out in a couple weeks.
That's right. So do buy that wherever books are sold. Otherwise, remember, we have a Patreon. It's $5 a month. You can listen to it. And once you do that, you'll hear us talking a little bit more about Mayor Eric Adams and some British politics this week. All right.
Interesting.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.